Yeah. What type of lightning protection do you use?
Saturday was the day we had the tornadoes.
Yeah, Cliff, that would have made it interesting, wouldn't it? Yeah, the insurance company would have had fun with that one.
Yeah, we had the warnings going.
Yeah, with the HF beam through the neighbor's roof. As far as lightning, the tower's well grounded because there's a couple of ground rods there. It's right outside of the window here, so I also have a ground strap that runs out to one of the ground rods that's right there by the tower. And then the other thing that works out for me is about 5 feet down, there's wet clay.
Oh, okay.
So basically, the base of the tower goes down about 4.5 feet, and there's a bed of gravel. And I know it's always usually sort of wet down there. And so between that, that also means that my ground rods at 5 feet, they're in clay. I got kind of lucky here. And of course, I use polyphasers on everything. I've got, I'd say about a dozen polyphasers there. Between the tower and the push-up pole and a couple of other antennas I've got on the roof, they've got a fair number of feed lines coming in, and they're all on polyphasers.
Yeah, because I understand lightning is a real serious problem here.
Yeah, in fact, I also have a mesh node up at the top of the tower too. And so that's got shielded Cat 5 going up to it. And I've also got a surge suppressor on that before it comes in the house.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to have a 20-meter dipole in my attic, which works fairly well, for, hitting up north, Ohio, Wisconsin, New York, that type of thing on 20 meters when the band is good. So I don't complain too much about that. It's good enough for, very restrictive HOA, but you don't have to worry about lightning protectors with it in the attic. That's for sure.
Well, you never know if you get a nearby strike. I mean, we have that at work all the time. We'll have strikes near our buildings, and just the Cat 5 network cabling, or now Cat 6, just the inductive pickup that occurs from a nearby lightning strike will get across those cables and blow all kinds of stuff out. In some of our buildings, we've got surge suppression on every end of those cables. And so usually, if we're lucky, it just takes out those surge suppressors.
Yeah.
In fact, on that note, that was one of the things that kept me busy today. One of our sites over in Levy County got hit over the weekend, and lightning took out a bunch of equipment.
Yeah, I have a Wolf River coils.
Is that all I have to do? How about start the video?
Huh? You're in the video.
Okay.
I like going portable stuff, do a lot of portable work. So throw the radio in my car and take my Wolf River coils antenna out and play around with 40 meters, which is good enough for me. Just have some fun with that.
Harry Porter, bottom left corner.
Well, he may be your bottom left corner.
Hey guys, James, WX4 TV is here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you, Jim.
Okay, I'm going to leave my video not started until it's time to do the PowerPoint. The subcontractors next door where they're building a house have cut our internet cable for the third time in a month, and I'm coming over my hotspot on my phone.
Damn.
Roger that.
Who was talking about Wolf River coils? I was thinking about getting one of those yesterday.
That would be me, KN4GJV.
KN4GJV, James, WX4 TV. So how do you like them? Are you finding you have good results with it?
Yes, good enough results. The tuning of the coil is going to require an analyzer. If you don't have an analyzer, don't bother. I have the coil a take along TIA, which with the extended legs for the base, and a 213-inch whip. I got the longer whip, and I just ordered the extension, the mid extension, to make the coil a little bit higher, because when the coil's at ground level, you're losing a lot down there. So I'm moving the coil up another 2 feet, and I'll be playing with that tomorrow. But generally speaking, the manufacturer is good. In other words, the quality of the manufacturer is good. It's light and easy to store. And once I get it set on the coil, it's within 10 kilohertz of always the same SWR. So it'll stay set for you. It comes with 3 ground radials.
Yeah, that'd be okay.
It's pretty reliable. So for $150, you can't beat it for a portable antenna. It's hard to beat for a portable antenna.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll probably try one out. I used the little Tar Heel on the top of my Suburban after Hurricane Michael, and I tied a longer wire to it and ran it up a flagpole when I was in the Panhandle, and that worked pretty good. But in the past, we've also tried a Tar Heel mounted on a utility trailer with radials and had abysmal results. And I thought that the Wolf River coil would be kind of like the same thing electrically, but maybe not. It's worth trying. It's not that much money to get. We've got a 102-inch whip sitting in the garage anyway that we could play with and see how that works.
Yeah, I would suggest to you order along with that the what they call the extenders, which go between the coil and the base. My reading of the ARRL books, on antenna books, is that getting the coil farther away from Earth, the better your propagation is going to be. So I figure for $30, I'm gonna move that coil up 2 feet from the base, and maybe I'll get a little bit more propagation out of it. That
makes sense. Okay, well, I'll let you guys start your meeting, John, whenever you want to do it. I can go either early or late. Sitting at home, not in the coffee shop. The challenge with Starbucks is that they throttle you once you're doing streaming for more than about 10 minutes.
Okay. We're going to start here in just a minute. People are still logging in, so.
John from Rick, is there a way to put the participants in some kind of order?
Nope.
That sucks.
Just use your scroll.
Understood.
Art, we were talking about towers. I don't remember. Do you have a tower? I thought you did.
No, not really. I have several push-up poles. I got 2 push-up, well, actually 3 push-up poles holding up a 130-foot end-fed wire, and then I have a push-up pole that also has a small Chris-Craft vertical 20-6 on it, but actually no tower.
Okay, but you do have some steel in the air, though. I thought I remembered something like that.
What do you collapse that push-up pole, during storms? Is that the whole point of having a push-up pole, or is it permanently in the air?
Well, the one push-up pole I got, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago from ARES when one of the TV cable companies went out of business, and they gave us probably about 30 or 40 that we all took. And the other 2 are just holding up the wire. But no, when you get bad weather, if they fall down, they fall down, A push-up pole's a push-up pole. They can be replaced. It's not a big expense. But I've had with the vertical on it, it's been up for well over 20, 23 years. So it's stood up to quite a bit of weather, and it's up about 24, 25 feet.
The one push-up pole I have, I do try to lower it if I know we've got a good blow coming in, hurricane or something. Because it's up, a little over 35 feet, and there's no guys on it. It's got a bracket at the house, but so I go ahead and lower that. It's a pain, but I only do it once every few years.
Is the base cement?
No, but so it's a 75-foot push-up pole. So I've got the first 3 sections nested and then buried 3 feet in the ground.
Okay.
So there's enough weight there. I mean, those 75 footers, they are heavy. So there's enough weight there. I didn't bother pouring concrete. I just buried it in the ground and then put a bracket on the house.
All right, guys, we're going to get ready to get started. I got 4 minutes after. Give everybody a chance to log in. Appreciate everybody joining in tonight. Sorry for the notice going out so late last night. It's one of those things I suddenly remember I hadn't sent out. And then I realized I didn't send out the OC alert like I usually do at 8 o'clock in the morning. So ran behind this month. But James Leah is joining us this evening. James is the emergency coordinator for Volusia County ARES. But James also has a business called Shack in the Box that him and his children sat there and put together go kits, radio go kits. So you may or may not be inspired to purchase one from James, or you may or may not be inspired to actually try to build one yourself. But he has some really decent looking go kits. So I'd like for him to share those with us tonight. So if I can get everybody to mute their microphones for now. James, I'm not sure how you want to do any questions or answers. So you want to do them during the presentation or at the end. The choice is yours. But if we get everybody to mute their microphones, that way it can prevent any feedback coming through while you do your presentation. It's all yours. And don't forget about unmuting your microphone.
All right, there we go. I'm trying to actually get it to share my screen, and it's not wanting to share the audio. So give me 1 second here. I have to enter in a password, and then I'll get back.
Okay.
Get back to you. This was one of those. Wow, they cut our internet at the last second, and I've been dealing with that. But while I'm working on that, everybody, thank you. This is James, WX4 TV. And as John said, I am the emergency coordinator for Volusia ARES. Yeah, John, go ahead and do some things. Let me get through figuring this out real quick, and I'll get back to you. Sorry about that, guys.
No problem. All right. Let's see here. I'll do a couple of the updates we were going to talk about after the presentation. One of the updates I did notify everybody out or emailed everybody about this one, but just want to make sure everybody's aware. The bike event, the Bike MS event that we were scheduled to do or scheduled to help with was postponed or canceled for 2021 because of the COVID situation. It's actually no surprise because pretty much all the bike events have now gone virtual for most of this year. Only one we haven't heard about yet so far for 2021 is Ride for Ronald. But if the vaccination doesn't get out faster than it is at this point, I don't foresee it happening this year. So that's one of those special events that we've helped with in the past couple of years, and it's been postponed now until 2022. Michael, do you want to do a quick update on the regatta? I don't know if you unmuted your microphone.
I was a quick update. We missed it.
Sorry about that. I was doing some hamcation stuff. I wasn't even ready for that. Hold on. I gotta pull up when it is. Okay, the Metro Cup Regatta is March 6th this year. We do this event every year. It's an outdoor event. This year, there have been some changes to it. It has moved lakes. It used to be on Lake Maitland. Now it is at Lake Howe at the Winter Park High School facility there. I am in need of a couple more operators for the event. It starts at 7 a.m. and usually done by noon. So if you're willing to help out, if you shoot me an email, let me know you're able to volunteer. I will send out an email probably later tonight with everybody that I do have volunteered already and more info on it. So keep a look for your inbox for that. And that's all I have.
Michael KN4GJV, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
Michael, I believe that I responded I wanted to volunteer for that. I don't know if you ever received that information. Apparently not. I'm KN4GJV, so just to let you know, I tried to volunteer for one of the boat jobs, so.
I think I do have an email from you.
Okay, very good.
When I go through my email tonight, when I send it back out, if you're not on the list, to shoot me another email at that point. I have to go through my emails. I'm sorry, we have Hamcation weekend coming up this weekend, so all my time's been on that, so I fell behind on the Metro Cup. But I thought I saw your email, so I'll go through it and I'll send out the update tonight. And just like I said, if you're not on it, just shoot me another email and I will add you to it.
Copy that. Thank you.
Sorry,
That's
James,
all I
were
had,
you
Joe.
ready or?
Yeah, I'm ready. Can you see my screen or are you seeing me?
Yep. I see you and your screen.
Okay. How do I get my screen just to be me? I have no idea. I'm sharing my full screen. Hopefully this works.
We see the presentation is what we see.
Okay, good. All right. So amateur radio go boxes. I am James, WX4 TV. And as we said, I'm the emergency coordinator for Volusia County ARES. I was originally licensed when I was 13 years old. That was back in 1981. My call sign was KA4UBN. And about 3 months before we got married, almost 30 years ago now, my wife, Michelle, surprised me by getting her ham ticket without me knowing about it. And her call sign's N8ZQZ. And a lot of you guys know my kids. You who don't, my son Zechariah, WX4TVJ, our daughter Faith Hannah, Kilo Delta 3 Zulu, Hope November Delta 2 Lima, and Grace Kilo Echo 3 Golf. And Grace upgraded to extra at Hamcation 2 years ago. It's been a while already. That was an exciting day when she did that. A little bit about what I do in amateur radio and how we got into doing go boxes. We're really active with amateur radio contesting with our family. And one of the reasons that we do it, and I encourage ARES members to do it, is to build skills such as understanding propagation and pulling signals out of the mud that you may need to hear sometime when you're deployed in a disaster, and making sure that you can get the proper information received and sent. And that's just a side thing. If you guys have never done contesting, it's great training for ARES. We also do a lot of national parks on the air, lighthouses, islands. We've done a couple of family de-expeditions. like to get out into the field with our radios. You might have seen our kids on the YouTube channel, hamradio.world. I'll be perfectly honest. This was, I modified Hope and Grace's talk that they gave about a year ago. And they had that in there. Our first exposure to Go boxes was a long time after I became a ham. That was about 6 or 7 years ago. And we were at the Norfolk, Virginia ARES meeting. And there was a guy, one of the AECs brought in a Go box that he built. He had, I think it was a 6-rack unit Gator case. And it had his HF radio and a couple of VHF radios and a whole bunch of stuff in it. And it weighed about 70 pounds. And we thought it was really cool. And we thought, wow, that'd be kind of cool to be able to have one of those. And we got to be thinking about what you could use the Go boxes for. And there's a lot of things you could use them for. You could use them for operating in the field, like with park activations, like with National Parks on the Air and the POTA and WWFF and KFF. Field day, you can take it on vacation, islands on the air, camping. In the picture is our youngest daughter, Grace. She's over at Pontoon Island with a Go box that she and Grace, or she and Hope built. And that's actually one that they took to, she and Hope and Faith Hannah took that to the Dry Tortugas in 2018. You can also use them to organize your ham shack. You can see in the right side of that picture, they've got a couple of 7300s and some Go boxes. And that would be a battery box down below. It keeps things tidy. If your spouse isn't a ham, it keeps your spouse happy. If you have little kids, you can put the cover on the radios so that they can't touch them with their fingers that are covered with peanut butter and jam. And they're easy to take with you to other places if you ever want to. You can use them in your car. That's a picture of Faith Hannah, our oldest daughter, with an ID 5100 that they put into a small Go box. That was during the MS 150 in 2019. It's already been a year since MS 150 ever happened. She was in a SAG vehicle, and it was one of the Mercedes vehicles that was donated, so you couldn't put a radio in it. So she actually carried a Bioenno lithium iron phosphate battery with her and used a mag mount antenna and was able to do SAG riding along in the passenger seat there. One of the benefits to doing this is if you're a new ham, you can save money because you don't need to have multiple radios. You can put your 2-meter 440 rig into a Pelican case like that, and you can use it at home in the car. You can use it portably out in the park if you want to, or for an ARES activation, one of the bike MS activations. And it also helps keep your radios from being stolen. You can lock it in the trunk. You can take it with you. Just don't leave them in the back of your Suburban so that people can see you have Pelican cases, because they may break into your Suburban and steal the Pelican cases, which they did with me one time, not knowing that there are radios in. That's another picture of our middle daughter, Hope. That was during the Falcon Heavy launch back right before Hamcation a couple years ago. And she was working one of the satellites there, but the Go box is in the back of the truck there. So that's another use that you can use a Go box for. And of course, what we do as ARES members is we're planning for disasters and emergencies. And as we know, we have lots of opportunities in Florida to practice our emergency skills during disasters. We got hurricanes, tornadoes. We had a tornado warning up here in Flagler County night before last. 1998, half of Florida was on fire when the power goes out. So you can take your Go box to a shelter. It's very easy to take it in, and very neat to keep it all put together and not have a bunch of wires going all over the place. Here in Volusia County, during Hurricane, I believe it was Irma, we had an ARES member that showed up at a shelter, very well-meaning ham, but he had a frayed power cord, AC cord on his power supply, and he plugged it in and it arced. And he got kicked out of the shelter because the shelter manager, who was the principal of the school, thought he was going to burn down the school. So really good to keep things nice and neat and not have frayed cords. Obviously, you can use them in the command post or the ICP. You can use them in an emergency operations center. You can also use them in the field. Some of you guys may know I deployed to Marsh Harbor in the Bahamas after Hurricane Dorian. I work with a group called AeroBridge, which does disaster air relief with business aviation and civil aviation assets that we got donated. And I was down there running operations for a week, and I actually carried the go boxes with me to help with communications. We were trying out using WinLink, had backup with satellite phones as well. But that's a picture of the tent where I was living with go boxes set up in there. I also had a commercial 150 some megahertz repeater that was set up by an NGO that came out of West Palm Beach. That was on one of the towers that we set up, and it resided in my tent as well. And then there's this picture of WinLink at the Volusia County EOC set up with a go box. It was easy to carry it in, even though we had an HF rig in there with that belonged to the EOC. It didn't have WinLink capability at that time, so we just carried a 7300 in real quick and put a computer on it so we could do WinLink. Another place, as you guys know, public service events such as the Boy Scout Merit Badge weekends, bike-a-thons, which I know you guys do a lot of parades, fireworks displays. Peter, I think, was very involved with the Red, White, and Boom. Peter Meyer, who was Red, Hot, and Boom. So fireworks displays, things like that. That's a picture of the go boxes sitting at the MS-150 a couple years ago. We actually carried an HF rig out there as well, because we got a couple of new hams from Jacksonville on HF for the first time. We just ran the coax over to the Suburban and used the Tar Heel antenna that was on the roof. This is a picture of the Champions Ride for Charity, and that was I think they don't do that anymore. And as you guys know, a lot of preppers you may see on Facebook now, preppers are really getting into thinking about ham radio, being able to communicate with their family and friends. One thing they need to think about, we all need to think about, is a way to power the gear when it's out in the field. And we'll talk about that later. And as you know, the world is turning into a much different place than it was a year or even a couple months ago. Regardless of the political leanings that we have, we know that things are getting a little bit crazy. Now, this next slide is something the girls threw in. They're not allowed to say SHTF, so they had to show it this way. And there's no audio coming through, but that's as you can hopefully see, it would have hit the fan with the hippopotamus doing his business there. It sounded like a large fart, and they got a big laugh out of it. We got started with amateur radio go boxes in the field with our kids. The first time they went out was in 2015 with the Jamboree on the Air that Lamar's was doing over in, I guess they're in Seminole County. And they had an 897D. They wrapped it in a towel. They wrapped the Astron power supply in a towel. As you can see in the picture there, that was the next day actually at a park. You had to carry everything with you. You could forget a cable, which they did once or twice. And they realized that it was really time that they needed to build a go box. So that's how we got into it in January of 2016 with National Parks on the Air. They had gone out the same way, carrying their gear, wrapping it in a towel, forgetting a cable every now and then. And they said, it's time to build a go box. And the first one they built was in February of 2016. And they put it into a Gator 6-unit rack unit tall case. And we put pretty much everything, including the kitchen sink in there. We had a power conditioner, a power supply, tuner, two radios. We were concerned about being out at field day and somebody maybe having a cheap generator with a bad inverter. So we put the power conditioner on there to help make the AC nicer. It weighed over 50 pounds, and it took Michelle and one of the kids, or two of the kids, or three of the kids to get it into the back of the truck. It was transportable. It wasn't portable. And even though we had it for a few years and used it a lot, we realized that putting the kitchen sink into your go box is not the best idea because it weighs too much. That's just a picture of Zechariah and Grace working on how they laid stuff out in there. By that time, they had a 991 that they put into the box, and then they used it. This picture is somewhere in DeLand during the Florida QSO party, and they're running it off a generator. They have 2-meter J-pole there to talk to people locally on the repeater to talk them in, and then they had, I think, a screwdriver antenna on that red trailer over there. They spent several times going over to the Ponce Inlet Light Station, field days, winter field days, during the Boy Scout Merit Badge weekend. And one of the coolest things they did with it was a couple years ago, something called CQ Santa, where we went to the Lowe's parking lot in Palm Coast. And Santa Claus, as funny as a Jewish guy who was about 2 miles down the road on HF, and he was pretending to be Santa Claus talking to these kids, and it was a big hit. I'll have a picture of that somewhere here. That's a picture of Hope getting a little girl on the air at Ponce Inlet, one of the field days, and the Boy Scout Merit Badge weekend. As you can see, the back of the go box, at that point, we had a lot of wires going everywhere, just coiled up, hadn't really learned how to clean up the back of the go box. This is one of the kids from CQ Santa. And it was so cool to see their faces because the sound of single sideband and the QRM and the people off frequency really made these kids think that they were talking to Santa Claus. And you can see from this, just the look of wonder in that kid's eyes, it was a big hit. So then the kids started getting serious about building go boxes. In 2017, we were up at the Stone Mountain Hamfest, and they entered their go box that they had built into the contest, and Mike Corey and Greg Surratt were the judges, and they won first place. And one of the things that Mike Corey said was, it was really cool that they used high quality parts and had thought stuff out. So they wanted to build more go boxes, and they started doing different things, learning what they had learned along the way as far as building, how to build things, what parts to use, what tools to use, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We also started using solar power. And in this picture, there's a UHF VHF satellite go box that's sitting on its side that I was using as a chair. And then there's the HF VHF UHF T-Expedition go box that they built to take to the dry Tortugas, and that's sitting on top of the other Pelican case. This was actually set up in North Carolina right after Hurricane Florence, when flooding was going on. So this is a picture of the first UHF VHF go box they built in a Pelican case. And it's in a Pelican 1510 case. It's this approved size to take onto an airplane. And anecdotally, I have carried a 30 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery through TSA as long as it's underneath a cover and installed. They haven't stopped me yet. Doesn't mean that they won't in the future. That one had a TMV71A, a Buddy Pole Power Mini Charge Controller, and it just had a 9 amp hour LiFePO battery. And they were building it, as you can see, they used a piece of oak as the top panel. And that was their first foray into building something in a Pelican case like that. That's just another picture of it. And you can see how they kind of had it set up. The DXpedition Go box that they built, both of these Go boxes went to the Dry Tortugas with them. Again, it's in a Pelican 1510 case, and was a Yaesu 857D with an LEG tuner. Again, another Buddy Pole Power Mini. And it had an SDR on it and a signal link on it, so they could do digital modes and actually do linear satellites. And that's another kind of a close-up of it. As you can see, they were using, I think that's a piece of poplar that they use as the lid, and they were using a rig runner to do their power distribution, which they found out is not the best thing to do. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And they've done a lot of stuff with it, including satellites, rockets. We talked about all these things that they did. Earlier this year, they actually used one of their new Go boxes as Kilo 2 Golf for Georgia. We went up to Georgia and got to take part as one of the stations that people were chasing for the 13 colonies, and that was kind of cool. And that's just nostalgic from when we were the Dry Tortugas. They took the Go boxes there and made right at 2,000 contacts in 36 hours of operating, portable with running off a battery and solar. They used it for the IOTA contest, just going fast through all of that so we can actually talk about the things that we really want to learn about here. As I said, the first Go box was way too heavy. And you can see that's actually when they were running a contest. At one point, they were on 20 meters calling CQ or something in that picture. But it had the power supply, which weighed a lot, the power conditioner. It had a large rig runner. I think it was a rig runner that had like 12 power poles on it. It took two of us to be able to move it. You had to be able to plug it into the wall or a generator in order to be able to use it, or you had to take a battery with it. And then we later figured out that you didn't need to include a power supply and power conditioner. And we figured out a way to use these LifePo batteries in lieu of having a power supply, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. So having the radios as an all-in-one Go box where everything is in one case. There are some pluses and there are some minuses. If you want to take everything with you and make sure that you have it all with you in one box, or if you just want to keep your radios organized in the shack, make things look neater, it's a good choice to do it that way. Challenge is that it's heavy. And as ARES members know, that if you are in a disaster or you're in a place where there's going to be multiple people on multiple frequencies, the HF and the VHF UHF guy are going to be sitting right next to each other. And that local QRM from where you're talking too close to each other can get kind of annoying. So that's not always the best way to build a box, especially if you're planning on using it for disaster relief. They started building a Go box that had just the VHF UHF in it, and they built one that has just the HF in it. So you can split them apart. You can only take what you need. If you're going out to work at a shelter, you don't need to take your HF radio with you. You can take your VHF UHF radio. Or if you're going to field day, you can take your HF radio and maybe your VHF radio as well. Maybe you're doing satellite with it, but you're able to keep them separated, and they're also lighter. And as we start trying to think about doing portable, or what I call transportable, the lighter it is, sometimes it's the better, especially as we get older. And one of the things that we learned is use quality components. Mike Corey mentioned that the kids were using good components. We lived on an island in the Caribbean. It's that island there. That island is nearly 4,000 feet tall and only 3 no, 5 square miles. And the hardware store had to order everything from St. Martin. So if something broke, you couldn't get a part that easily. And it usually took more than a week to get it. So you don't want to build something that you're going to take with you that if you're going to a country for a de-expedition and they don't have Radio Shack or Walmart or wherever we get our hardware, Ace hardware, you want to make sure that you build it with components that are going to be relatively assured of not falling apart when you take it and get where you're going. The same thing goes for emergencies and disasters. I've always told people that if your life or your family's lives or the lives of others depend on your ability to communicate, cheap's not the way to go. You want to make sure that it's going to be reliable and that you're going to be able to do your operating. Think about if you took this thing to St. Martin and think you're going to go get out on the beach and make some contacts. If you can't get the part to fix it, your vacation is shot, but your wife might actually be happy about it, that you're not on the radio all the time. These are just some pictures of places that I've gone that you couldn't go get parts. On the left is, I believe, that was from 2014 Hurricane Arthur. I was in the eye of that. And then the top picture is Galveston, Texas, after Hurricane Ike. The hardware stores weren't open for that. And that bottom picture is in Haiti after the earthquake. You definitely couldn't get any parts there. And then the one on the right is inside my tent. You've seen that picture already. Just to reiterate that if you have a part break, you can't really go get it fixed when you are out there in the middle of nowhere. So use quality components. With Shack in a Box, that's the company that the girls founded a couple years ago. We are only using Gator cases for our rack mount cases, and we're using Nanook cases for our clamshell cases. Pelican cases are good as well. They just didn't want to work with the girls, and Nanook was willing to work with them and form a business relationship with them. Gator cases are the ones that we found to be the best when it comes to portable rack mount cases. Their quality control is consistent. You can also get cheap ones from other places that look nice, but when you look at them funny or touch them the wrong way, they break. And then there's also another name brand called SKB. And what we found with SKB is their quality control is not there. Several of the ones that we had, the rack rails were not tapped with the proper pitch for the screws, and they had a lot of sharp edges. We use the best coax that we can find. Anybody who's been to Hamcation over the last couple years, you've probably seen either at MFJ or Gigaparts the Messi and Poloni coax from Italy. We're only using that in our boxes now because we know that their coax is very high quality. It's very well shielded. Their connectors are a mixture of compression and solder, and they don't break. When we are doing crimp connectors, we're using the Anchor brand marine grade heat shrink connectors, so that when you make that crimp connection and then you heat shrink it, it's got glue in it that helps make the connection watertight and also makes it a little bit harder to pull apart. Only using Nylox nuts with stainless steel hardware, so stuff doesn't vibrate apart. We're using real copper wire that is the AWG rating. We did find that there are some places that you can buy wire, especially at Hamfest, that they claim is like 8 gauge. We got that for something a couple years ago from a vendor at a Hamfest, not Hamcation. And we thought we were getting 8 AWG wire. And when we got it home and actually stripped it, we realized that it was actually about 14 AWG, and it had a great big thick insulation on it, big jacket on it, and it wasn't going to handle the power needs that we had. So we make sure now that we buy the wire from reputable sources. We're using the big three for the radios. We're not going with the Anytones or the off-brand radios. It's nothing against them. We just know that ICOM, Yaesu, and Kenwood have a good reputation of building stuff that works and doesn't break. And the batteries that we are using exclusively are the Bioenno Power lithium iron phosphate batteries. That picture is one of the boxes that the girls make, and they're actually building one. The 7300 is coming tomorrow. They build a lot of these. It's a 7300 and an IT100 with an external speaker in a 3-rack unit case. And you can put the lid on it and cover it up and keep the dust out, or keep your cat or your grandkids out of it. And you can carry it with you. It's not good for carrying on an airplane unless you're flying on a charter plane or a private plane where you know that you can make sure that it's not the baggage handling people throwing it in the back of the airplane. This is a picture of one of the connectors with the Messi and Poloni. You can see that's a compression connector that screws in with a very fine pitch thread, and it has a couple gaskets in there that make it a watertight connection. And that's a picture of some of the marine grade heat shrink connectors, the crimp connectors that they're using. And that's a picture of one of the boxes that they call the D-Expedition in a box. It's everything is in a Pelican 1510 case, including the battery, the 30 amp hour battery, a 7100, a solar charge controller, and that you can take it with you on an airplane. I haven't actually flown with that one yet, but when they get rid of COVID restrictions, I'll fly with it somewhere. We also found out that you got to use the right tools. And if you're building these yourselves, which if you want to, we encourage you to do that. Make sure you have the right tools to do it. And for young kids, they learn the hard way. And I let them learn the hard way so that so that we cemented the lessons into their brains. Trying to drill holes in a shelf with a handheld drill instead of a drill press is not the right way to do it. They first started their Anderson power poles. When they started doing Anderson power poles, they were soldering them instead of crimping them. They now use the proper crimpers. We let them try to crimp connections with pliers. Needle nose pliers for stripping. Anything that you can do wrong, they managed to do it wrong and learn the right way to do it. And a lot of hams, not at all saying anybody in this group doesn't know how to do it right, but a lot of hams don't know the right way to do things when it comes to connecting wires together or providing for a good, reliable connection. They even used a lighter for heat shrink instead of a heat gun. Now they use the right tools. There's a picture of Grace. She's using a heat gun to melt a couple of the crimp connectors. They've got the proper tools to do it. Their soldering iron is a high quality soldering iron now that has variable temperatures. And they even have the little arms that help you hold stuff so that you're not having to use rubber bands and needle nose pliers, which they had done in the past. Things just to think about when you're going to build these things. Make sure that you have the right tools to do the job. Either buy them or borrow them from somebody. If you go back, you remember the first box was way too heavy. They included a power supply, the power conditioner. Those two components together weighed about 19 pounds. And now instead of that, we can power one of those Go boxes with a 30 amp lithium iron phosphate battery that only weighs about 7 or 8 pounds. And you can actually build it into a solar generator. That solar generator that you see pictured is one of their what they call their Solaris 600 watt hour solar generators, and it has a 50 amp hour battery in it with a Buddy Pole Power Mini as the charge controller. They put a little small LED light on the side so you can light up what you're doing, see your keyboard or what you're doing. I also found out that when they started building these things, that the polycrystalline panel and the deep cycle, the lead acid deep cycle batteries were very heavy. You can only use half of the battery capacity without damaging, you can't pull more than 50% out of a lead acid battery before you start doing damage to the battery. And lead acid is only rated to be charged between 400 and 500 times. And if you've ever used a deep cycle lead acid battery with a Yaesu radio, at least, when you key up, it immediately pulls the voltage below the minimum voltage for the specs the Yaesu the radio wants to see, and the voltage control operator would mess up, and you'd change frequency as you talked. And the biggest other problem was that the solar panel got broken while being transported home from a Hamfest. One of our friends, it was actually an IMCOM-1, and somebody ran a red light in front of him. He slammed on brakes, and some Motorola batteries or chargers or something fell on it and smashed it. It still worked, though. That's a picture of Grace actually working on hooking up a couple of those 80 amp hour, I think they were 89 amp hour batteries, which were extremely heavy. And there's her broken solar panel that still works. And as you can see, Michelle and Zechariah are picking up one of those 80 amp hour batteries or 89 amp hour batteries. It was heavy. It took the two of them to pick it up. And you can see Grace holding the BioEnno battery that provides as much usable power, amp hours, as that 80 amp hour battery did. She's holding it in her hands with no problem. So now we're using exclusively using the BioEnno Power lithium iron phosphate batteries. They're very lightweight. Lithium iron phosphate batteries don't catch on fire. The lithium ferrous bond is extremely stable. And from what I understand, it takes about 1,000 or more degrees to actually break that bond. So it takes a very high heat to actually catch it on fire. So pre-COVID, the FAA had told me that they were going to, by the middle of last year, actually have them approved for any amp hours to carry on planes. That got put on the back burner. And they haven't addressed that yet. But the cool thing about them is that the voltage stays constant until almost to the end of the battery capacity, which is you can use about 90 to 95% of the battery's rated capacity. Instead of using, like with a lead acid battery, you can only use 50% before you do damage to the battery. And it's also impossible to over discharge a BioEnno power battery because it has protection circuitry built into it. It will cut off the power if you take it down to where it reaches its low voltage threshold. If for some reason you have a short or an over amperage situation, it will cut it off. If you try to charge it to too high of a voltage, it will cut it off. And these things can be charged like between 4,000 and 5,000 times. Another thing that we learned since making this, the girls made this PowerPoint is, so if you take like a lead acid battery and you discharge it 20% and you recharge it from 80% up to 100, that counts as one of your full charge cycles. With lithium iron phosphate, if you take it down 20% and recharge it, that only counts as 20% of one charge cycle. So you could do that 25,000 times, theoretically, I guess. And we figured out that over the lifetime of a system, meaning the amount of money it would take to get as many amp hours or watt hours into and out of a battery system over the life of the battery system, lithium iron phosphate costs 85% less per watt hour than lead acid. So a lot of hams will look at it and go, wow, that 30 amp hour battery is $299. That's way too expensive. But over the lifetime of the battery, it's going to cost you a whole lot less money to keep that one battery for 5 or 6 years or more than it is to carry that heavy lead acid battery around and have to replace it every year or so. The kids are now building solar generators. Like I said, they're calling them Solaris generators. They have 2 different ones that they're doing. They're doing a 60 amp hour version, and they're doing a 30 amp hour version. And they're exclusively now using the Buddy Pole Power Minis as charge controllers. And the Buddy Pole Power Mini, if any of you guys have seen it, it's a pretty cool little piece of gear. And it's, I think, some of the best money you can spend if you're going to be out working in the field. Not only does it act as a charge controller, and you can put a 12 amp panel on it, there's all kinds of information that you can get from that charge controller that will tell you the condition of what your voltage is, how much power you've taken out, how many watt hours or how many amp hours you've taken out of the battery, how many you've put back in with your solar panel. You can see if you've had a zero net, or if you've had a loss by you got to using it at night, or you're using it on a cloudy day, or have you actually added more power to it than you have taken out. The Power Mini is also can be programmed from the front panel to charge virtually any kind of battery. You can use it for lithium iron phosphate. You can set it to charge a lead acid battery. You can set it to charge something that's like a three volt battery just by changing the max voltage that it will charge to. It's a really cool piece of gear. And the picture there is their 30 amp Solaris, they call it the Solaris 360, 360 watt hour solar charge or solar generator. It's got the battery built into it, and it actually has an LED light on the side and 2 power pole outputs. You can see there the Buddy Pole Power Mini, some of the information that it's giving you right there. It says the battery's at 13.74 volts. It hadn't been used, so it's everything showing 0 amp hours, and that's since it was turned on. So it gives you a lot of information to be able to make decisions on how you want to do your operation, whether it's worthwhile to stay on the air or kind of wait until the propagation changes and allow your battery charge back up. That's actually an old picture. They're not doing this anymore, but that's a Buddy Pole charge controller as well. They're not using those anymore. As I said, they're built in the Nanook cases, and the only reason they're using the Nanook cases is because Pelican did not want to work with them. Now, one way that you can use this thing is BioInno includes a 6 amp charger that you plug into the wall, and then you can plug into the battery. Dan N1ZZ from Paradigm Radio about 3 years ago told us that he was running his contest station at home off of a 30 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery from BioInno using just the 6 amp charger. And I was like, no, that won't work. There'll be RFI from the charger, or if you're calling CQ a lot, or if you're running stations, you're going to run your battery down. What we've found with 100 watt single sideband, you can run a 48-hour contest and make a couple thousand contacts. and never worry about running your battery down. I guess if you were doing digital or if you're doing CW, you may end up pulling more than 6 amp hours out every hour. You might have a deficit on your battery. But we've been running our station now for 3 years, just like that. So that's another way you can use these things, is almost like an uninterruptible power supply for your home shack. This is an old 50 amp hour battery box that they do. They don't sell this one anymore, but that was built in the Pelican 1430 case. And had a 50 amp hour battery in it. The solar panels that we're using are exclusively BioInno solar panels now. We had gotten a hold of several solar panels from PowerWorks, and we also got a hold of their solar charge controller, and we're very excited about them. And every one of them failed, without exception. Over 20 of the charge controllers were giving very bad hash on HF. And PowerWorks wouldn't make good on them. They claim that we don't know what we're talking about. But several people now complain that they are very noisy, and their solar panels are built like the one on the left, where they're very portable, small. They're like 10 pounds for a 110 watt panel. We had 3 of them that failed within the first 2.5 to 3 hours, where the wires that were coming from the leads to plug into your solar charge controller, they were literally just 2 wires placed on top of each other and soldered together with a cold solder joint. They weren't even twisted together. Didn't have any kind of insulation put on them. Very poor quality. So we went exclusively now with BioInno power. On the left is their 100 watt panel that is very lightweight, very portable. You don't want to leave it out in the rain, and in the wind it might blow away because there's really no way to secure it to the ground. But a 100 watt panel only weighs 10 pounds, and you can fit it in a Pelican case. I've got 2 of them in a Pelican case that I have for deploying with AeroBridge. On the right are the rigid solar panels, which are monocrystalline panels. They rate that one at 120 watts. We have found in the Florida sun, with a bright sun pointing straight at it, we've gotten about 136 watts out of this panel. And I asked them about it, and they said that, yeah, we underrate our stuff, so people are not upset, that they're happy that they're getting more power than they're supposed to. That one weighs, I think, about 30 pounds, and it's quite large. It folds up, but you can leave that out forever if you need to. And you can put a sandbag on the feet back in the back to keep it from blowing away. So there's trade-offs with how you want to do it. If you need to be extremely portable, go with the one on the left. If you just want to be transportable and have something you can leave out all the time, the one on the right is great. That's a closer picture of the 120 watt panel. As you can see, it's 2 sides and it folds up. It does a really good job. And then there's a 100 watt panel, and it folds out into 4 sections, and it only weighs 10 pounds. In April 19, the first Go Box that the girls built, somebody wanted to buy it. And they really weren't interested in selling it until I told them, if you sell it, you can buy a 7300 and build another Go Box. And that realized that they wanted to sell it very quickly because they wanted a 7300. So they started their business, which is Shack in a Box. And you may have seen them at Hamcation last year, and they'll be there next year if we have another Hamcation next year. They've got a booth registered for that, so they'll be there. They make the VHF, UHF, HF Go Boxes. They make the ones that are VHF, UHF, and the one that I showed a picture of earlier, I forgot to mention, that has a 30 amp hour battery built into it with a solar charge controller on it, so you can operate in a field with it, or maybe even set it up as a cross band repeater somewhere. You could still have to stick around with it and be a control operator, obviously, but it would allow you to have a little more flexibility and have the battery built into it. The HF Go boxes, you saw a picture of the one with the 7300 in it. They can make one with a 7300 or 991 or a TS 2000. Any of the smaller, they don't have a box that would fit a FT. What is it? The FT 5000. Those are a little bit too big, and they're building solar generators like we talked about. They're no longer building battery boxes. We found that the battery boxes are a lot more work than it's worth to actually put into and for them to be able to make a profit. But if you want to make a battery box, they're actually worthwhile making. You can take these bio batteries and put them in a Pelican case or put them in a nano case and build a very high quality battery box that's going to actually protect the battery. You can also use cheaper boxes if you want to. They're not going to afford as much protection for them. Here's a picture of Grace using the HF, VHF, UHF Go box. As you can see, it's got an Icom 7300 and a ID 4100. And then I think that's an AT100 Pro 2 tuner in it. And that one's just being run off of a battery there in the field. This is the one that I was telling you about that has the 30 amp hour battery built into it with a solar charge controller. So you can plug this into the wall using the charger that comes with it and just keep it in your shack. Or you can take it out into the field and use it on battery or with a solar panel. Or if you deploy to a shelter and you're there and the power goes out, you at least have 30 amp hours that you can use to stay on the air to keep making contacts with net control. This is one of the ones that they do with the 7300 and a tuner by itself. Like I said, they've done them with the 991. They could do one with the TS 2000 or one of the smaller size radios like that. And this is the D Expedition in a box. And this one is the really cool one. This one, Hope and Grace and I built earlier this year. And it is you guys saw the guts to it a little while ago. It's a 7100 with a 30 amp hour battery and a solar charge controller built into a Pelican 1510 case. And the Pelican 1510 is IATA approved for carry-on. It'll fit in the overhead bin and it will fit in the seat, under the seat in front of you. They incorporated a system where those two little grills, one in the bottom right, and you can see one just near the purple connector. One of them has a fan that is blowing, sucking air out of the box, and the other one is just a dummy hole with an intake. And rather than running the fan all the time, they incorporated a temperature switch that turns on at 45 degrees Celsius and draws the air across the heat sink on the transceiver and exhausts it out of the box. They also included a voltmeter and a thermometer, and I don't know if they have a picture of that. No, they don't. Down right above the Shack in the Box logo, you can see those little red dots. That's a voltmeter and thermometer, where the thermometer probe is actually taped right at the heat sink on the radio. So you have that final check to make sure you're not exceeding 140 degrees, which is the maximum temperature that the radio can get. They use this box a lot this summer. They used it for Kilo 2 Golf for the Georgia 13 Colonies event, and they were out in a park doing that. I don't believe we've ever gotten the inside of the box above 120 degrees, and that's using it in the Florida heat. That's not in the direct sun. You probably wouldn't want to do that, but it's a cool way to be able to carry essentially a D Expedition in a box. All you'd need to do is take a solar panel and an antenna with you, and you could go anywhere you wanted and get on the air as long as you could have a license. You wouldn't even have to take the solar panel with you as long as you took the AC charger. You could charge it up at night and then take it out on the beach and use it during the daytime. This is another one of their new solar generators, the Solaris 600 watt hour generator. and that's got or actually 720 watt hour generator. Sorry, it's a 60 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery with the Buddy Pole Power Mini. You can see the little LED light is lit up, and it's got dual ports for power poles on the side. It's got a small coaxial connector there for plugging the Bioenno charger into it, and then that silver connector is a Furion solar connector, which is the standard connector you'd have on an RV nowadays. If you want to build your own, links to some of the parts are on the shackinthebox.com. That's shack-in-a-box.com website. There's some buttons as to where you can go and get some of the parts, and that will help you to know what to put in it. Now, this was at the Melbourne Hamfest last year, and they said, come visit our table. If we're ever back in the Hamfest, look for the purple table and the girls standing there, and they're happy to answer any questions and talk to you about what they're done and whatnot. And you also might meet Piggy, who is their mascot. That's a stuffed animal that's been around the world with me many times, and several famous people, including presidents, have had their photographs made with him. His call sign is Papa 1 Golf Golf Yankee, and he was just hanging out there at the Hamfest sleeping. If you want to go to their YouTube channel, it's hamradio.world, and I think that's the last one. So I kind of raced through this because I know you guys got a business meeting to do as well, but are there any questions that we can answer about building your own or anything like that? Any questions at all?
You want us to go through the chat, or do you want to do voice?
Voice.
Yeah, we can do it with voice. The chat is hard for me to see right now, Rick. Oh, I didn't realize that was you, Rick. Hey, Rick.
How's it going?
Good.
I just have a quick question. Referencing charging up the lipos, can I just use, like I use a PowerWorks in a box, and it's actually connected to my power supply, which is AC, and then it can be either charge or run the radios on that unit. Is there a problem using any special charger for the LiPo batteries?
The lithium iron phosphate batteries, according to Bioenno, you need to have it a 14.6 volt charge current, and they need to be current limited to whatever the maximum current that the battery can accept. And the rule of thumb with Bioenno is it can accept half of its rated amp hours in amps of charge current. So a 30 amp hour battery could take a 15 amp charge current. We used to use those things like from PowerWorks and from Dan, the DC Gate 40 Plus. And that's where we found out that, when you can plug this thing, this battery into its 6 amp charger and forego having to use a power supply, take the power supply and put it in the boneyard or just, keep it for later use. You don't need to have that power supply to run your rig. You can run it off the battery and just keep it topped up with the included charger. And we've been doing that for 3 years now, and it's worked flawlessly.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? Don't forget to unmute your mic.
This is James in XIA.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I don't know if I missed it, but at the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned something about the Anderson Power Pro strip and how you were going to get to it as to.
Oh, yes. I that was out of there. So what we found with the rig runners is that they're actually introducing about a 0.1 to 0.2 volt drop, and we stopped using them. We are using instead we're cutting down, like we're using inline fuse connectors. Like when you buy your rig from Yaesu or ICOM or Kenwood, they have inline fuse connectors in the power cables. Now they give you a 12-foot power cable, and you need to chop it down. So we're chopping it down to the right length so we don't have an extra pound worth of wire in there and a rat's nest, and then use high quality butt connectors and crimp them and then heat shrink them. and use the inline fuse connectors. And then if we have multiple radios, we're using the PowerWorks version of the power pole distribution blocks. They make one called a PD4, which just has 4 power pole pairs that are connected in parallel with each other. I think they make one that's a PD8 and a PD12. We have not found a measurable voltage drop across those like we found with the rig runners. And especially the MFJ version of the rig runner has a much higher voltage drop. I don't know what it is that they're doing on the inside, if they're using the foil on their circuit boards or what, but when you're in the field, you want to get as many volts out of that battery as you can, and in introducing a 0.1 or 0.2 volt voltage drop because of the fuse block that you're using can be the difference between being on the air and not. So we quit using those.
I'm glad I asked.
Yeah, that's just something we found just in playing with a voltmeter, and we're like, hey, wait a second, that's not the same voltage that went into it.
What kind of draw when you were testing that?
That was actually with no draw.
You got to have a draw to get a drop.
Okay, so the draw, I guess, was with the radio turned on. So maybe what, an amp or so, 2 amps, however.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you weren't doing it like under a 20 or 30 amp load or something.
No.
Okay. Now I'm going to have to test that concept.
Yeah, test it and let me know if you find the same stuff. That was why we went away from them. Plus the daggone things cost $100, and if you don't need to include it, and you can lower the price of what you're building, and still have it work just as well or better. That's why they went with that.
When I was looking at your presentation designs, I thought I saw a socket-styled Anderson power pole connector, maybe sticking out of the box. Was I wrong?
Yeah,
with that?
they are using the 1 1/8 inch in diameter dual power pole adapters that you can only get from PowerWorks. Unfortunately, they're the only supplier of those. We also have, there's a guy on eBay that 3D prints some single power pole connectors that we use. They don't have the water resistant cover that goes over them, but yeah, they're using for the battery box or for the solar generator, they're using the power pole connectors that are a dual gang power pole connectors in a 1 1/8 inch hole panel mount.
And you didn't experience any drop with those?
No.
Okay.
No, because those are just a regular. I mean, they're just your regular power pole connectors. They are a holder that holds 2 sets of red and black connectors, and then you crimp on your connectors, your contacts, and you shove them in just like you would any power pole when you build it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Just don't forget to unmute your microphone. Makes it easier.
That looks like that's probably it.
Yeah.
So if you guys have any questions after this, feel free. You can get in touch with me either through the website, or John's got my phone number. I accept phone calls, and my number's very, very out there. So I don't have any problems with answering questions and talking people through stuff.
Appreciate it, James, very much. Appreciate you doing the presentation. Really good presentation. Maybe hopefully give some guys some ideas of what they can do to build something, or maybe even get in contact with you.
So I do have a question then. Did I have any breakups with my audio or the video coming through using my phone?
No, you only had one little spot or a couple of spots where it kind of like digitized for just a second, your voice, but not to where you couldn't understand what you're saying. It was noticeable and then it went away.
Okay, good. I'm glad to know, because with 3 kids in college and all their college classes are online and no internet at home, we're gonna have to figure out something for tomorrow. So
Charge it up.
yeah.
Appreciate it very much.
Yes, thank you, guys. I'm going to let you continue your meeting and then get back to Michelle and the kids and getting ready for tomorrow. But like I said, if you have any other questions or anything, feel free to get in touch with me. It's not a problem.
Thanks, James. Appreciate it very much. Tell
Thanks,
everybody
James.
hello.
I will. Everybody say hello. Michelle's waving and saying hi. I don't know where the kids are. Oh, Hope's
Thanks.
still doing algebra.
Uh-oh.
Here, let me stop chatting here. I got to stop sharing. There's Michelle. If people haven't seen Michelle. So is my screen back on now, or I don't even know?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
There she
Your
is. All right.
screen's
So
gone and we see you.
all right.
Here we go.
And
There's Hope.
and there's Hope. Guys, thanks for listening to my
Ken.
my rambling there for a while, and I appreciate it.
Not a problem.
All right,
Thanks,
and
guys.
I'm
Appreciate
gonna
it.
say 73 and figure out how to leave. Oh, it's that red button.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah, lower right corner.
All right, Michael.
All right.
Mm-hmm. So, okay. Crazy.
All right. I want to skip through some of this. This presentation was actually done for another group. I'm pretty sure everybody here knows what hamcation is and a little bit of history of hamcation, which take up a little bit of time. So I'm going to skip that part of it. Jump to the hamcation special edition. Sorry about this. I'm got it on my wrong screen to look at the camera, so I'm gonna look at my screen and not the camera. Let everybody know ICOM's a platinum sponsor, Gigaparts come on as a gold sponsor, and TN07 Engineering come on as a bronze sponsor. Some things we'll cover real quick. The webinars coming up, the QSO party, testing some of the prizes, how to get prize tickets, and merchandise. Everybody should know we're having the webinars on February 13th, 14th. They're split up into 4 groups: vendors, technology, contesting, and youth. To let everybody know, if you do want to watch a webinar, you must register to attend the webinar. We will also be streaming all the webinars live to YouTube, and you can watch them after the fact because they will be put there recorded. Here's a list of some of the webinars that are scheduled. Vendor webinars: ICOM, Yaesu, Flex, ARL, Elecraft, DX Engineering. Several technology ones: D-Star, Tapper. There's a software-defined radio one. There's a kit building, 3D printing. The 3D printing is 3D printing in amateur radio, what you can do with 3D printers for amateur radio. AMSAT. Several contesting ones: State QSO Party, WRTC 2022, K3 LR Station, Small Station Bang for Your Buck, which is actually done by Ward Silver, remote contesting and DXing, and contesting and DXing from the Caribbean. Have several youth ones. Carol Perry's doing hers. Yoda's doing one. Ken Lyon is doing one for Jamboree on the Air. Amateur in Space. There's actually a CW one for youth and growth youth involvement, how to grow youth, or amateur radio with use. The QSO party. It's going to be February 13th from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. All the rules are on the website at the address shown there. There's 2 ways you can participate. One, we will be having 9 special event stations set up around Florida. If you contact all 9 special event stations, which spell out Hamcation, you'll get a certificate for that. And if you just want to participate, it's anybody contact anybody. So you can sit on a station, just call CQ, Hamcation, and collect points. All the info is on the website. 3 categories: high power, low power, and QRP. We'll be using CW and single sideband, 10 through 80. And just like I said, anybody can contact anyone. To add the extra 100 points to your score by contacting the 9 Hamcation or the 1x1 special event stations. As you can see here, they spell out Hamcation with the last letter of each call sign. For everyone, we are going to be having testing on site at the fairgrounds in the north building. That's the building that usually held the prize barrel and the prize booth. Testing will be February 14th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You must register to attend it. All the info is on the website of how to register. It is free. So if you know anybody that wants to take their tech, upgrade to general or extra, here's your time to do it. This could be one of the last chances for a free test, since FCC did up the $35 now. So this could be one of your last free times to do it. We will be doing all the COVID-19 requirements of wear a mask. All participants will be 6 feet apart at least. We will be sterilizing all the tables in between each person, and all of our VEs will be wearing masks and conducting temperature checks at the door. Merchandise. We partnered with Gold Medal Ideas. So if you go to the website, at the top of it, what was your question, Rick? You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. I was still on the chat screen. Basically, it's on the directions on where they enter the fairgrounds for testing.
No, it does not.
I haven't had a chance to look at the testing information yet. That's what's curious.
It says what building it is, but I can put something up there. Merchandise, we have partnered with Gold Medal Ideas. So go check out the merchandise they are selling. It's Hamcation Special Edition merchandise. So this is one of our vendors for Hamcation, so this is a way to help them out also. We had some Hamcation limited edition lanyards made. It's a $8 donation, which includes the shipping. And to let everybody know, all the proceeds from the lanyard sales are going back out as donations to the local clubs. So this is a way that Hamcation can still give back this year to local clubs, since we did cancel or postpone Hamcation for this year. The other thing, we have some great prizes lined up. Our Saturday grand prize donated by Ham Radio Outlet is the Yaesu 991A. Our Sunday grand prize donated by ICOM is the new IC 705. There's a lot more prizes. We have a 9700. There's all kind of ARL books. There's gift certificates, audio equalizers, Bionicle Powers donated stuff. There's rig runners, thumb DVs. The whole list is on the website. Please go check it out.
Ooh,
Prize
nice-
tickets
nice-
and
nice 300.
somebody say something. Prize tickets and drawings. There's 2 ways to get tickets: register and attend a webinar, purchase prize tickets. When you attend at least one webinar, you will get 1 entry into the prize drawing. You do not get an entry for every webinar you attend. So if you sign up for all 40 something webinars, you're not getting 40 entries. You only get 1. For a $5 donation, you can purchase prize tickets. This money also will go toward the donations to local clubs. So all proceeds of this will go toward that. Prize drawings will be February 13th and 14th, and we will be doing them hourly. So 11 a.m., 12, 1, 2, 3 o'clock, both days. You do not need to be present to win. We will be mailing all prizes to everybody. So all prize drawings will actually be done via Facebook Live to the Hamcation Facebook page. So it's a good time to go check that out and make sure you like it so you can watch the live prize drawings every hour. And last is Hamcation 2022 will be our 75th edition. We'll also be hosting the ARL National Convention. The dates for 2022 is going to be February 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. Now everybody's saying, why 4 days? So the first day, February 10th, is actually ARL is going to be putting on training tracks at a local hotel that you can sign up to do. So ARL will be putting more information out about that soon, but it will be there. There will be a luncheon also part of that on that Thursday. And then the rest of it on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday will be at Hamcation. Other question. Must be Rick. No, Nicholas. Is there a list of VEs? I haven't heard back if I'm going to be needed. Oh, I'm sorry. That was direct message to me. Nick, I will forward your information to our VE team and make sure they get back with you.
Mike, have you heard how many signed up for their VE testing?
Last I heard, it was almost 30. So 30 people testing, and I believe we have somewhere around 15 VEs signed up. So, any other questions?
Quiet. All right, I got one more thing that I'll present real quick and talk about. The Orlando Amateur Radio Club was asked by Lamar's to assist them with putting on a special event coming up around the 1st of March, end of February, 1st of March. We're going to get more information out on this really soon, but we're looking for operators to run a special event station. And there's going to be shifts, and it's going to be a week-long celebration or a week-long activation, if you will. And I think if I remember correctly, Michael, it's from February 27th through March 6th, if I'm not mistaken. And this is to celebrate or to commemorate the Florida becoming a statehood in 1845. And the call sign that's going to be used is going to be W4F, Whiskey 4 Foxtrot. And again, we're going to get more information out to once we get the how you sign up completed. and a little bit of the rules completed real soon. But keep this in mind as far as a special event station. It's going to be on single sideband, CW, and if I'm not mistaken, some digital too, Michael.
Yeah, they are going to do digital
on this one. So, and it's also the exchange is going to be pretty much, you know, your location, your name, call sign, location, and your temperature of where you're at, the outside temperature, and it's to help commemorate or talk about Florida and Florida's weather in February and March, to help in the future hopefully bring some tourism back to to Florida and Orlando area. So again, we'll get more information out on this. Lamar's is taking the lead on it. OERC is assisting them with it, and I think there's going to be a couple other clubs getting involved in it also real soon. But it can be a lot of fun, and you know, all we're looking for is operators to maybe donate a couple hours in a day, 1, 2, 3 hours, whatever the time block's going to be, to help do this. So and then what we're looking for is this will become a yearly event for the state of Florida to do, and hopefully then we'll actually get more clubs involved too. So again, we'll have more information on that when it gets to be more things finalized. All right, let's go around to the rest of the staff real quick, see if they have anything else. Michael.
I do not have nothing else.
Okay, Dean or Nana?
Nope, I'm good.
I do have one thing I want to mention. I don't see Paul on here tonight, but last month he talked about some of the testing that a few of us have done with the Vera protocol that we've been using with WinLink. And just want to mention, even though we've all been busy, in particular, I guess, me with the hamcation and work, we still found a little bit of time to do some more testing. And I finally got around to getting the license for it. And so we've learned a little more. We're continuing to get better knowledge on this Vera protocol, and we may be able to incorporate that into our ARES configuration for WinLink and other things. But just want to mention that in the last couple of weeks here, I've achieved data speeds of around 7,000 baud connecting into Rick's station, and then a little over 11,000 baud into Mitch's station. So that sure beats the 1,200 baud that a lot of us have seen before using TNCs. And we're just using regular old radios. We're not using specialized data radios or anything like that, just regular FM radios. It helps if it's a radio that is built to do 9600 packet. We're able to leverage some of that additional technology, but just want to pass that on. We got a lot to learn yet, but we're seeing some real good results here, and it's potentially a revolutionary change for doing data with our FM radios.
Cool. I'm interested in seeing the presentation when you guys actually, get some more data together and ready to present more information to the team. So looking forward to that. All right. James.
Heard that too, huh? No, I don't really have anything. I was just reminiscing. What was it? The 24. What were the speeds that our modems had before we had internet? Oh well.
300.
1,200.
No, I think 56K was the last thing I remembered before anybody had T1 was cooking. But oh well. No, don't have anything. Or should I have something?
Nope. I just wanted to see if you did. Keith?
Yeah, I forgot about the meeting. It's been a nutty Monday. I caught half of the presentation. Nothing really on my side. John to really pass on. I not really.
It's up on YouTube, so you can always watch from the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I seen him on like YouTube. I'm like, oh crap, that is Monday night in the meeting. So I'll go back and play it. It's Monday's been upside down, but all's good. Nothing really of interest per se. But thanks.
I understand that. Rick, admin Rick.
All good.
All good. All right. Just trying to go down my list, but people are starting to jump around on my list here now. Mr. Harrelson.
No, nothing else for me. Thanks.
Okay. And I think I covered everybody. Did I miss anybody? Cliff, did you have anything?
No.
All right.
If you look
sometimes
at Monday, if you look at Monday upside down, it kind of looks like Hop now.
Oh, it is a little strange this year for us guys because typically today we would have loaded trucks for Hamcation, and tomorrow we would have been driving those trucks to the fairground and getting things set up or getting it started to be set up. So a little different this year. Mike and I kind of went out to the fairgrounds last week to take care of some things that we need to take care of with the fairgrounds. And it was just kind of eerie feeling knowing that we're not going to be there this week in the capacity that we normally are. It's a little different. So it's kind of it was kind of a ghost town, weird feeling there. But anyways, that's all we have for this evening. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Don't forget Anna.
Oh, Anna did you have anything on? You didn't. I came to you.
No, I was the second one, I believe.
Yeah, Rick was falling asleep.
I guess.
But her second sentence was longer than the first one, which was nope.
So, all right, guys. If nobody has anything, we're done. And have a good evening. It's 8:34. I got. So appreciate y'all coming out and being part.